This is Team 8, Infinity and Beyond, discussing GMO labeling. And just a little bit of background about GMOs. They're genetically modified organisms manipulated to alter their genes. The goal is to introduce or alter a particular characteristic or trait. The benefit of this may increase shelf life or make them resistant to insecticides or herbicides. So that's the point of altering the genes. Just a little bit of statistical information. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, the use of GEs, genetically engineered or GMOs, produce has risen pretty significantly. In 1996, it was at 17%. So this is the gene alteration that causes the produce to be herbicide resistant. It went from 17% to 68%. And then the gene alterations that created insect-resistant crops rose from 26% in 97 to 80%. So it's pretty clear that it's widespread and a common practice. There's been some debate about whether or not GMO products should or should not be labeled. Our position is that there should not be laws, federal or state, created or enforced to mandate the labeling of these products. There's just little to no benefit of labeling them.
The first reason why our position is that there should not be mandatory labeling is that there is little to no evidence to prove that GMO crops pose a long-term health risk to humans. The Council for Agricultural Science and Technology, which is a large institution compiled of academic and scientific institutions, have released a paper that compiles a lot of evidence that shows no long-term health risks. There have been long-term studies in the United States, Japan, and Europe demonstrating that they are not a problem to human beings. And it seems that you would need to prove that these organisms pose some kind of health risk to humans before instituting mandatory labeling laws in order to avoid causing panic to consumers and sending out misconstrued information. Even the WHO, the World Health Organization, states on their website, foods currently available on the international market have passed safety assessments and are not likely to present risks for human health. That statement was in regards to GMO organisms. In addition, one of the arguments for mandatory labeling is that consumers should have a choice as to what kind of products they're purchasing. This is a very common argument you hear made. However, in the United States, there already is consumer choice. It's being provided by voluntary market-driven labeling. So there already are food production companies that recognize that there are consumers out there who want to eat non-GMO foods, and these companies are labeling their foods as GMO-free. So people already have a choice. You don't need to institute mandatory GMO labeling in order to give consumers this opportunity.
So to add on to what Laura was saying, the concern here is that this will confuse consumers and induce panic. It may pressure or push families to purchase organic food or food that does not contain GMOs, which potentially may be more expensive, placing a financial burden on them, which kind of segues into my next point that mandatory labeling can also increase the cost of food. There was a Cornell study in May of 2014 that revealed that GMO labeling would cost families an average of $500 a year increase in the cost of food. So it definitely adds up and it can be very costly. Even the Coalition Against the Deceptive Food Labeling Scheme agrees that GMO labeling will create a burden and it can expose, isolate, impoverish or low-income families who can't afford higher-priced organic food. So.
Just to add to what Jaime was saying about increasing the price of food, what might happen if consumers decide they want to start purchasing non-GMO foods, farmers will be required to use these farming techniques, which are more cost-intensive for them, so that will also drive up the price of food. So in conclusion, the WHO, a widely respected organization, as well as numerous other organizations of both academic and commercial and scientific institutions, all agree that mandatory labeling should not be required. It's not necessary.
Thanks.